and Rhody. Go tell and Rhody.
Welcome to the family, son.
Everybody's
Jack Baker is the head of the Baker household deep in the swamps of Dovey, Louisiana. Mr. Baker is the husband of Marguerite Baker and the father to Lucas and Zoe Baker. He appears to be simply a madman, but in the world of Resident Evil, the horrors tend to be a bit more complicated. On the surface, Jack doesn't initially look out of place for someone living in the middle of a swamp. He wears an inconspicuous button-up shirt, cargo pants, boots, and aesthetic glasses. Really nothing out of the ordinary at all. He sports a thick, unkempt beard, as well as a mostly bald head. And he's usually seen with the grin of a maniac. However, as mentioned before, this is but on the surface. In certain circumstances, his body can mutate with horrific results, but we'll get into the details of these mutations in just a moment. Though once an ordinary man, Jack Baker has inhuman abilities due to an infection from a human bioweapon. This bioweapon, who has the appearance of a young girl, not only infected Jack and his family, but has complete control over them. He displays superhuman strength, being able to throw an average-sized man clear across rooms and through walls, completely rip the roof off of a car, and easily wields obscenely large weapons. Jack also features regeneration and incredible durability. Even after being stabbed repeatedly, or shot in the head or vital organs, he will keep coming. Upon suffering enough punishment, he may appear to die, but this is only temporary.
Oh, no, now you gon' get it.
Jack can even shrug off the impact of a car slamming into him and being engulfed in flames. If he suffers too much damage, his body can respond with mutations. Initially, a growth resembling a human face will emerge from his torso. When said growth expands from his body, he's temporarily immobilized. Eventually, if it becomes too much for him to bear, his entire body from the waist up explodes. Now, despite his brain and all his vital organs being totally destroyed, he can still regenerate from this. However, this time, his body will mutate as it reforms. His entire body will change into a monstrous form, with all his features disfigured into something unrecognizable. He grows several times his original size, has multiple limbs sprouting out all across his body, as well as numerous eyes. With this massive size increase, he has a massive strength increase as well. However, he becomes much slower. So here's what we know about Jack Baker. He was born in 1962. In the early 80s, he served in the Marines, then eventually became the owner of a Louisiana ranch, likely passed down to him by his family. He married Marguerite, and together they had 2 children, Zoe and Lucas. Jack was certainly a caring and loving man to his family, but he was no stranger to disciplining Lucas if need be. Based on evidence found in the Baker's home and property, it's clear that Jack has a passion for hunting and fishing. Jack also was hoping to start a bed and breakfast at some point. Fast forward to October of 2014, and the family's ranch, along with the surrounding area, was overwhelmed by a hurricane. Their old house on the back end of their property was rendered uninhabitable, and Lucas Baker made a discovery that would seal their fate. Lucas found a large tanker washed up in the nearby bayou. He, of course, told Jack about it, who went to investigate for himself. This is where he found a woman named Mia Winters and a young girl named Evelyn. With open arms, Jack brought the 2 into his home with no clue what sinister evil was residing in Evelyn. She was in fact the bioweapon that infected the Bakers and took control over them. The Bakers lost their minds and eventually ceased any interaction with the world outside their ranch. Over time, with no contact or even seeing them, the Bakers were assumed dead by the populace of Dovey. The Evelyn BOW had an obsession with the concept of having a family, and Jack, of course, was the father figure. But to the girl, the Bakers weren't enough. She wanted her family to grow. Over 2 years, Jack would abduct around 30 people, and like livestock, he would kill them, then dissect them, then remove their skin. After this process, the victims were turned into grotesque monstrous creatures that would become a part of the family. Over these couple of years, Jack had a few run-ins with victims who wouldn't go down without a fight, but none of them would cause any serious damage. That was until Mia's husband, Ethan, arrived on the Baker's farm. Ethan came to the property looking for Mia after receiving a vague email, presumably from her. Shortly after finding Mia in the basement of the Baker's guest house, Jack welcomed Ethan to the family. Ethan would manage to escape death time after time by sheer luck, Jack's overconfidence, and tendency to play with his victims. After displaying his ability to get back up after blasting a gaping hole in his own head, Jack chased Ethan through the house. Eventually, Ethan made it to the basement, where he used a chainsaw to defeat Jack. In the aftermath of that struggle, all that was left of Jack were his legs. This wouldn't be the last Ethan would see of Jack, though. A few hours later, Jack would return, but the extensive level of regeneration resulted in him mutating into a monstrous form, several times his original size, and every aspect of him being deformed. Ethan was ambushed just as he had finally gotten his hands on a cure for the contaminant that plagued Mia and the Bakers. Here, they had their final battle. Ethan ended the fight by injecting the cure into Jack's flesh, which resulted in Jack's body calcifying and presumably killing him. However, something remained. Jack's mind was now free from Evelyn's control, and his consciousness lived on long enough to speak to Ethan one more time. In some sort of dream state, Jack expressed deep remorse for what he did to Ethan and all the people he had murdered. He told Ethan that Evelyn had corrupted his family and took complete control over them. This final encounter ended with Jack begging Ethan to save his family from the BOW. After Ethan later succeeds in killing Evelyn, it's assumed that Jack is finally gone. So let's say Jack and his family kidnap you and they don't kill you right away. What can you do to survive? Well, honestly, for Ethan Winters, he lucked out that he happened to have the cure for Evelyn's infection on him. If you can't get hands on this serum, you best run and hide. But if you must confront Jack, hit him with everything you got. Guns, blades, explosives, anything you can do to buy time for yourself is really the only thing you can do. If you happen to break him down to the point where he loses that top part of his body, you might have just enough time to find yourself a way out of the Baker's property. Although there's no evidence for it, perhaps completely incinerating what remains of Jack will kill him once and for all. Of course, you'd still have Marguerite and Lucas to worry about, but hey, that's a start. So that's Jack Baker. To us, he's already a classic character in not only Resident Evil, but horror fiction as a whole. So what do you think? Think you could manage to survive in a one-on-one encounter with him? Want us to do more horror spotlight videos on the rest of the family? Let us know and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.